This video is going to use a simple system for predicting first half goals in football. The first half goal market can be extremely profitable and often flies under the radar with most sports betting investors. Anyway, I will outline the system step by step so you can follow along and begin profiting from the first half goals market. So, go put the kettle on and let's dive right in. Edge hypothesis. Before we pick up the pen and look at the numbers, we have to understand the logical foundation of why this system actually works. Most of the betting public views the over 0.5 goals market as a bit of a gamble on randomness, but we treat it as a tempo market. The edge we are exploiting is a very specific price-time inefficiency. When we identify a match that is structurally built for pressure, the market often prices the early goal quite aggressively at kickoff. However, if that goal doesn't arrive in the first 10 to 15 minutes, the odds begin to drift significantly due to time decay, even if the underlying statistical pressure and attacking intent remain extremely high. We aren't just guessing that a goal will happen, we are identifying environments where the probability of a goal remains strong, while the market price is adjusting as if that probability is fading. Once you understand that core logic, the actual execution becomes a matter of discipline, which starts with our research. Okay, so let's start with phase 1, which is league and match filtering. This is the stage where we create a clean environment for our data so that we aren't being misled by distorted statistics. What this phase represents is the foundational guardrail of the system, where we ensure our data comes from a stable and comparable source. Why it matters is that cup fixtures or matches between teams from different divisions can create noisy data that doesn't accurately reflect how a team will behave in a standard league game. What most people do wrong here is they look at a team's overall scoring record across all competitions without filtering out the outliers. When I first started out, this is a mistake I used to make myself, often loading up my accumulators with teams that had just scored 5 goals in a cup game against a lower league side. I used to fall into this trap constantly, thinking that more goals in any game meant more profit in the next, but I was just ignoring the true value of the league context and setting myself up for a loss. How we approach this correctly is by being much more selective. We only use data from the last 10 combined matches within the same league. We completely ignore cup fixtures or friendlies. We are looking for leagues with a stable scoring profile and no extreme defensive bias, such as certain lower divisions where teams are known for sitting deep and playing for a 0-0 draw. By keeping our data same league only, we ensure that the tempo we are measuring is a true reflection of the competition the teams are actually facing. This structural discipline at the very beginning is what separates a professional sports investor from someone just having a flutter on a Saturday afternoon. By the way, if you like videos like this and want to see more on this subject, remember to click the like button. It tells YouTube to send you more of this kind of content. And while you are there, you should hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss a system or strategy video. Now this is important as we move into phase 2, which is the pre-match goal environment filter. This phase is our primary quality control check, ensuring that the match as a whole is expected to be productive. What this phase is a look at the full match goal market to see if the overall environment supports our first half objective. Why it matters is that if the market doesn't expect goals across the full 90 minutes, the probability of an early goal in the first 45 minutes drops off a cliff. What most people do wrong is they look at first half stats in isolation, forgetting that the first half is just the first segment of a wider scoring environment. How we approach this correctly is by using a very specific filter on the Betfair exchange. We only look for matches where the over 2.5 goals market is priced at 1.80 or lower. This price tells us that the implied probability of seeing at least 3 goals is approximately 55.5% or higher. If the odds are up at 2.10 or 2.20, it tells us the market expects a cagey affair and we simply stand down. We only want to be involved in matches that are expected to be high-tempo, multiple-goal games, as this gives us the best possible foundation for finding that early breakthrough. By the way guys, if you want to skip all that manual research and find the best first-half goal bets instantly, the Statto app is a brilliant research accelerator. Instead of spending your morning hunting through league tables and checking exchange prices manually, you simply press the prompt and let the artificial intelligence do the heavy lifting for you. It automates the entire qualification process, identifying the matches that fit these exact filters in seconds. It is all about time saving and simplicity, allowing you to build your shortlist with professional precision without the headache of manual data entry. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen. That leads us neatly to Phase 3, which is the first half goal consistency filter. This phase is where we zoom in specifically on the early scoring behavior of the two teams involved. What this phase represents is the confirmation that both sides contribute to an early tempo. Why it matters is that we want to avoid asymmetric matches where one team is aggressive but the other is completely passive, as that often leads to a frustrating 1-0 or 0-0 scoreline at halftime. I'm genuinely curious to know if you've ever found yourself backing an early goal just because a big team is playing, only to watch them sleepwalk through the first half without a single shot on target because the underdog has parked the bus. Comment below if it has happened to you too. How we approach this correctly is by looking for 3 specific benchmarks. First, the two teams must have a combined average of at least 1.0 first half goals across their recent matches. Second, the home team must have seen at least 4 first half goals in their last 5 games. And third, the away team must also have seen at least 4 first half goals in their last 5. This double check ensures that we are entering a two-way tempo match where both teams are structurally likely to contribute to the goal count before the whistle blows. We are looking for consistency, not just a one-off blowout. On top of that, we move into Phase 4, which is the average first goal timing. This is perhaps the most sophisticated part of the filter because it sets up our entry strategy. What this phase is an analysis of exactly when these teams tend to score their first goal. Why it matters is that if a team typically scores in the first 5 to 8 minutes, the price for a first half goal will be extremely short and offer zero value. However, if the data shows that the first goal typically arrives between the 18th and 25th minute, it opens up a massive opportunity for us. I learned this the hard way, often entering too early and taking a poor price, only to realize that the natural scoring window hadn't even opened yet. Every time I've ignored this rule and tried to chase early chaos, I've been reminded that the market often rewards patience. This is where most people slip up, and I was no different. How we approach this correctly is by ensuring the average time of the first goal is 15 minutes or later. This creates the drift system opportunity. By waiting for those first 10 to 15 minutes of play, we allow the price to inflate significantly. If the score is still 0-0 at the 15-minute mark, the price for a goal before halftime might have moved from 1.50 up to 1.80. Because our data tells us the scoring window is only just beginning, we are getting a much better price for the same structural probability. We aren't chasing the game, we are letting the market drift into a position that offers us genuine value. Now this is important, as we move into Phase 5, which is the contextual overlay. This phase is our final refinement before we consider an entry. What this phase represents is the human element that numbers alone can't always capture. Why it matters is that situational factors like weather or team news can completely override the historical data. What most people do wrong is they treat the numbers as a guarantee, ignoring the fact that a missing star striker or a waterlogged pitch can kill the tempo of even the most aggressive teams. How we approach this correctly is by checking for must-win scenarios, such as title races or relegation battles, which often increase the early intensity. We also look at the weather. Heavy rain can lead to defensive errors, which help us, while extreme heat often slows the game down to a crawl. We also double-check the team news to ensure the teams haven't rotated their squads or lost key attacking players. This isn't about finding reasons to bet. It is about finding reasons to protect our capital by rejecting matches that no longer fit the high-tempo profile. That brings me to Phase 6, which is the drift system integration. This phase is where our preparation turns into live action. What this phase is the actual execution of the entry during the match. Why it matters is that it allows us to exploit the time decay inefficiency we discussed earlier. Most bettors feel a sense of FOMO and want to be on at kickoff, but the professional knows that the first 15 minutes often provide the best information. If you want to see the full video on the drift system, then the link is in the description of this video. How we approach this correctly is by monitoring the live match. If there has been no goal by the 15-minute mark, we don't just blindly enter. We look for a specific set of in-play stats. We want to see at least 5 total shots, at least 2 shots on target, and a combined XG of 0.40 or higher. We also want to see corners building pressure. If the game is 0-0, but the stats show dominant territory and multiple box entries, we take the improved price. If the game is a tactical deadlock with no shots, we simply walk away. We are using the first 15 minutes as a live filter to confirm that the pre-match data is translating into real-world pressure. Now, the final phase is the decision protocol and failure modes. This phase is the linchpin of our discipline because it dictates exactly when we stand down. What this phase represents is the professional's ability to admit when a trade is no longer viable. Why it matters is that it prevents you from lumping onto a game that has fundamentally changed. What most people do wrong is they get emotionally attached to a selection and enter the market even when the live game looks completely dead, just because the spreadsheet said it should be a good game. How we approach this correctly is by having a strict no list. If there is an early red card, it kills the structure of the match and we stand down. If the tactical shift is too defensive or the weather has clearly turned the pitch into a lottery, we do not enter. We have to accept that properly selected matches will hit between 65 and 75% of the time, but variance means we will see clusters of losses. This is why we use the league filter, the over 2.5 filter, and the in-play validation as a combined shield. We are identifying tempo and exploiting time-based mispricing, not just guessing what might happen next. And like I said earlier, guys, hours of manual research are no longer necessary if you want to professionalize your approach. The Statto app is the ultimate tool for finding the best first half goal bets that fit the specific requirements of this system. It provides incredible speed and efficiency, allowing you to identify those same league, high-tempo matches in seconds so you can focus on the execution and management of your trades. It is a total research accelerator that handles the heavy lifting of data analysis, ensuring you're always operating with a professional advantage. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen right now to get started. It is a serious game changer for anyone who wants to stop guessing and start investing with a real edge. I really hope this deep dive into predicting first half goals has shown you that consistency comes from structure and identifying tempo, not just luck. When you stop chasing the kickoff price and start using a drift-based entry plan, you'll find that the markets offer much more value than you previously thought. Thank you so much for watching and for your time today. Remember to hit that like button, it tells YouTube to show you more of this kind of content. As always, the learning shouldn't stop here. There is actually another video on the screen right now that I think you'll find very useful if you want to keep building your knowledge and sharpening your edge. Go ahead and click that, and I'll see you over there.